I followed a group of high school students into a photography darkroom and saw something great that my colleagues completely missed. I was leading a group of new observers. Students finished their lesson, moved into the darkroom. I was the only observer who followed them. In there, trays of chemicals, images slowly appearing on paper. I watched students who had been quietly compliant during instruction become completely different people. They were directing each other, they were correcting each other's techniques, owning the process in a way I never would have seen from where my colleagues were standing. That was the learning, not the lesson, the learning. I've walked with a science class out to the woods behind their school. I've climbed into stalls with ag students, one of whom handed me a baby goat, which was the highlight. And in that day, I watched a student foreman manage her peers with more precision and authority than most adults I know. This is how our strategy, do what it takes to collect evidence, came to be. That strategy exists because the learning doesn't always stay in the room following a formula, and neither should you. Here's the problem most observers have in a live classroom. You have 10 minutes, maybe 7, and most of that time gets spent standing in one spot writing sentences about what the teacher did and leaving with 3 bullet points that could have described any classroom on any day. That's not evidence, that's a summary. In the last video, we talked about 2 moves that change everything. Move to where the learning is and engage students in conversations. Today, I'm going to show you the exact tools that let you do both at the same time and leave a live classroom with more evidence in 10 minutes than most observers collect in 30. The central strategy is our feedback to feed forward strategy 13. Maximize the use of your notepad or tablet. Sounds simple. Now, we embrace video observation, but for live classrooms, this is it. And the one thing I want you to try before your next observation, draw the room. When I walk into a classroom, the first thing I do before I talk to a single student is draw a quick map. Not a perfect floor plan, a rough sketch. Where are the students? Where is the teacher? What groups or structures are in place? Takes about 45 seconds or less. But here's what the map does for me for the rest of the visit. It becomes a living document. When I talk to a student in a group and they can or can't explain the learning target, I can mark it on my map with my own legends. When I see the teacher go over and give feedback to a student in the corner while I'm talking to this student, I note the time and location on my map. And then I go over there after the teacher moves on and I interact with that student to find out if the feedback moved them forward. From one map like this, I can tell you how many knew what they were learning and why. Half. How many partnerships struggled because the text was too hard? 3. How many the teacher supported? 4. How many needed support but didn't get it? 1. How many finished early? 2. Add my comments from chatting with students. That's a complete picture of differentiation and support in a single classroom visit. Not from sitting and watching, from moving, marking, and following the evidence as the lesson unfolds. Add a secret weapon, your camera, and you have a powerful duo working for you. Take a picture with your phone or your iPad, the board, the target, the essential question, the slide, the anchor charts. And you don't have to lean over to see students' work. Ask permission and then take a picture, and then you can step back and review it to help you make decisions about your next move in collecting evidence. And after you leave, you have that picture of that student's work to talk to the teacher about, what the different student work revealed about where they are. This is how one observer leaves a room with evidence that the teacher may or may not have collected themselves. And we know this because teachers have told us this. Here's why the map matters beyond counting and tracking. It keeps you from doing what most observers do, spending so much time trying to capture everything in sentences that they stop moving and stop listening and stop talking to kids. The map frees up your brain to stay present. You are not writing paragraphs. You're making marks, a check, a number, an arrow, a circle, a brief quote in the margin. That fluency, the ability to capture and keep moving, is what allows you to engage simultaneously in what we call the trifecta of our strategies, feedback to feed forward strategies 14, 15, and 16. Listen, view, interact, all at once, all feeding into the same picture. When I see a teacher spend 6 minutes at a student's desk and then move to the next, I mark the time, I spot on my map. It's not a judgment, that's a data point. Later, I can say to a teacher, hey, I noticed you spent 6 minutes with that student in the back corner. When I checked in with him afterward, he told me he figured out his error and explained how you helped. I did notice 3 other students in that same area were also struggling and didn't get support during that time. What'd you notice about them? Here's what they told me when I asked them about why they were stuck. These are cause and effect relationships. I was confirming that that feedback did, in fact, advance learning. This is what the map makes possible. It's a snapshot of a complex moment in time. Now, none of this works without one thing in place first. Teachers have to know this is what you're doing because transparency builds trust, the foundation of everything. If a teacher doesn't know that you talk to students, photograph work, follow classes, your presence feels like real surveillance, and it doesn't matter how good your evidence is. The book we wrote says it directly. We want to ensure minimal footprint is left on the classroom and the students when we observe. That means you've had the conversation ahead of time. Teachers know observers are going to interact with students and why, and know we will commit to doing so without disrupting direct instruction. Students know visitors might stop and chat and why. When that's in place, a teacher sees you crouch next to a student and thinks, oh, she's here to help. Without it, they think, what is she writing down? The tool only works if the relationship supports it. Before your next classroom visit, do one thing differently. Draw the room on paper, on your iPad. Walk in, sketch where students are sitting, note the time, that's it. As the visit unfolds, mark what you see. Start to create a legend. Who the teacher talks to, who finishes early and really has it, give them a star. Who doesn't, circle them. What group you talked to and what they said. You're not building a perfect map. You are building a record that you couldn't have produced from the doorway or through pure scripting. And when you sit down to write feedback or prepare for a conversation with a teacher, that map will tell you things your memory won't. One map, one visit. Try it. The tools we use in this work, the map, the tally, the phone camera, the tablet, none of them replace what you bring to the room. They just make sure that what you see doesn't get lost before you can use it. We still need your professional judgment to know what to mark, your expertise to know what it means, your relationship with the teacher to know what to do with it next. The tool captures the evidence. You decide what matters. That is still a human job, and it is a learnable one. If this was useful, share it with a leader or coach who is visiting classrooms and maybe having trouble not scripting. Check out our free download and follow us for more strategies.